Let me ask you something. What happens in her mind the moment she truly realizes you're not coming back? Not texting, not watching her stories, not chasing, just gone. That moment right there, it's not just sadness she feels, it's uncertainty. Because now, the dynamic has shifted. You were once the safe place, the emotional anchor, the one who always showed up. And now, you're the calm silence where chaos used to echo. She expected the messages, the long paragraphs, the efforts to fix, something that she broke. But instead, you did something completely unexpected. You let go, not to play games, but because you finally saw things clearly. You realized that chasing someone who let go of you isn't strength, it's self-abandonment. And you're done abandoning yourself. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 10 mindset shifts, psychological and stoic turning points that happen when you stop going back. How your silence becomes a reflection, how your detachment resets the balance, and how walking away with peace doesn't just make her notice, it changes the entire story she told herself about you. Because when a man becomes still, self-respecting and emotionally grounded, the world reacts differently. If you're tired of being an afterthought and ready to become the version of yourself she didn't see coming, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment. My silence speaks louder than my pain. Let's get into it. She expected you to come crawling back. She assumed you'd crack first, that the silence would crush you, that the distance would pull you back to her feet, apologizing, explaining, trying to rebuild what she chose to break. That's what she's seen before. Pull away and he chases. Withdraw, love, and he works harder, but not this time. You didn't just go silent. You detached, not out of bitterness, but clarity. You didn't argue. You didn't beg. You let the silence speak. And suddenly she's left sitting with the sound of her own decisions, echoing back with no noise to drown them out. Understand this. Most people don't seek closure, they seek control. When you walk away with peace, not punishment, you break the illusion. She thought she'd remain the center of your orbit, but you didn't just move on. You created a new universe, and she wasn't invited. The mind breaks before the heart. This isn't just about heartbreak, it's about mental dissonance. She thought she had you figured out, predictable, emotional, reactive. She knew when to pull back just enough to make you chase again. Then you stopped, and when that control slipped, her certainty began to unravel. Now she's second-guessing, wondering why you haven't checked her story, wondering if you're hurting or healing, and that possibility that you're not suffering is where the real fear begins. Because it's not just about missing you, it's about realizing that maybe, just maybe, she misjudged your value, and her role in your life wasn't as central as she thought. Silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. She may assume your silence means confusion, that you're stuck, in pain, unsure of what to do. But what she doesn't see is that silence is your strategy, not to manipulate, but to preserve energy, to stop speaking where you're not heard. When you were reacting, she felt power. Now that you're still, she feels uncertainty. You've become the unknown, and the unknown can't be controlled. That silence creates mystery, and mystery isn't about ego. It's about dignity. It's about not offering explanations to someone who lost the right to ask. You've stopped defending your worth. And ironically, that's what makes your presence more valuable than ever, because men who over-explain lose presence. Men who go quiet gain clarity. And clarity, that's not coldness, that's leadership. 4. You become the mystery she can't solve. At first, she thought you were just playing hard to get, maybe giving her space, maybe waiting for the right moment. But then she noticed something deeper. You weren't playing. You were evolving. You didn't disappear to manipulate. You disconnected to grow. She checks your social media expecting signs of pain, maybe cryptic posts, maybe sad quotes, maybe a slip that shows you're still caught in the past. But instead, she sees nothing, or worse for her, progress. You're not broadcasting heartbreak. You're building something. And in that silence, you've become unpredictable, unreadable. And for someone who once believed she had you figured out, that's unsettling. Mystery isn't just attractive, it's powerful. It keeps people awake at night. Because now she's stuck wondering, why did he stop caring? Is he with someone else? Was I never enough? She used to think she held all the cards, but now she doesn't even know what the game is anymore. That's the strength of calm detachment. It doesn't scream, it doesn't seek revenge. It simply moves on with quiet conviction. And in walking away without noise, you became something rare, something sacred, not bitter, not broken, just out of reach. And the more unreachable you become, the more unforgettable you become. When you go cold, she starts to burn. She expected your world to fall apart without her. That your confidence would crack, your routines would shatter, and your nights would be filled with regret. But when you went cold, it wasn't your world that fell apart. It was hers, because she expected desperation and got peace. She expected drama and got discipline. That emotional reversal flips everything. Emotions are mirrors. When you were warm, present, and chasing, she felt like the prize. But when your energy disappeared, the mirror turned back on her. And now, there's no comfort, no validation, no attention, just silence. And silence is louder than it seems. The truth is, it's not rejection that stings. It's irrelevance. And when you no longer give her access to your presence, she starts to feel what she once made you feel. Uncertainty, confusion, and longing. You didn't lash out. You didn't guilt her. You didn't try to force understanding. You simply removed the flame. Now she's sitting in the cold of her own choices, because there's nothing colder than a man who once cared and no longer does. Her ego can't handle irrelevance. She didn't realize how much your presence mattered until it was gone. She didn't crave your attention when it was constant, but now that it's absent, it's deafening. That's the thing about ego. It doesn't crave love. It craves control. And when you were always available, always explaining, always proving, you fed that need. But when you stopped showing up, when you stopped chasing, she lost more than affection. She lost validation. She assumed you'd orbit her. She thought your silence was temporary, but now she's learning it's not a pause, it's a conclusion. And that realization hits hard, not because she's heartbroken, but because she's no longer in control. She's not mourning your love, she's mourning the loss of power. This is where stoicism becomes your strength. You didn't explode, you didn't attack, you simply stopped giving energy to what drained. You became unavailable, without bitterness. And in doing so, you gave her something she never expected. Distance, closure, clarity. You became the man she used to know. And ironically, that absence made more impact than your presence ever could. Because when a man becomes emotionally reserved and self-led, he doesn't fade from memory. He becomes a legend in it. 7. You transformed the pain into power. She thought the pain would break you, that you'd spiral, lose direction, and fall into the shadows of what once was. But instead of collapsing, you evolved. You took heartbreak and turned it into fuel. You hit the gym harder. You read more, you meditated, reflected, and rebuilt. You went inward and discovered a version of yourself even you hadn't met yet. A version that doesn't chase. He builds. He becomes. And now she watches from a distance, realizing the man she walked away from has become more focused, more confident, more in control than ever. Here's what she didn't expect. You didn't need closure. You needed separation from who you used to be around her. She didn't break you. She awakened you. And that transformation, that's not revenge. That's rebirth. You've become unreachable, and that's attractive. In the beginning, she had access to everything, your attention, your loyalty, your energy. You were present, consistent, always available. But now, you've become unreachable, not out of spite, but out of growth. You're not waiting, hoping, or checking if she'll return. You're focused, busy, becoming. You've gone from emotionally available to emotionally sovereign. And that shift changes everything. Women don't chase what they fully possess. They chase what feels rare. And now you've become rare. Not by playing games, but by leveling up. You're not reacting. You're not posting for attention. You're not watching her stories or appearing where she expects. You've gone off the radar, and in that absence, attraction is reborn. You didn't just disappear. You became unreachable, and that's unforgettable. She's watching, but you're not looking. She may never say it, but she's watching, silently, carefully. She checks your updates, watches your stories, scrolls through your progress, trying to find cracks in the armor. She's looking for signs that you still care. But here's the twist. You're not looking back, because while she's stuck in the past, you're building the future. You no longer seek validation. You embody it. You used to chase. Now you lead. That's the power shift. You're no longer emotionally dependent. You've become emotionally untouchable. You've let your actions speak. You've let your silence teach. And now, the one who used to be the center of your world is on the outside looking in. 10. Your absence becomes her realization. At first, she thought your silence was temporary, maybe a tactic, maybe a test. But with time, she started to feel it, not just notice it, ache for it, because every room without your energy now feels quieter. Every notification that isn't from you feels heavier. She thought your love would always be there, but now it's gone. And with it, the version of you that gave endlessly, and that, more than anything, is what hurts. Not because you punished her, but because you finally realized that your love was a gift, not something to be taken for granted. You didn't walk away in anger. You walked away in clarity. You didn't yell, you didn't beg, you just left, with your dignity intact and your value reclaimed. And now your absence does the talking, not to make her suffer, but to remind her what real presence felt like. This wasn't just a breakup. This was your awakening. She didn't break you. She revealed you, forced you to confront your attachments, your need for approval, your old patterns. And you didn't just lose a relationship. You shed an old identity. That's the path of the stoic man, quiet, clear, unshaken. You're not out for revenge. You're building something deeper, peace, purpose, power. You're not chasing anymore because you've become the storm. And those who took you for granted will remember that storm, not through noise, but through absence. If you made it this far, here's what I want you to do. Drop a comment. She lost access to a version of me that no longer exists. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Stoicism and turn on notifications, because this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your legacy.